Base resonator here. I'm going to be trying to create a pansy in these 5-inch coaster molds. The little face part of the pansy is going to be Bokuto brown eye candy, and that will be piped in. The colors of the pansy: terracotta, these are alcohol inks, ruby, and in the middle lemon yellow. For part of the bloom on the outside, I'm going to be using bloom paste. For the center color, I want Vegas dust. That's what it looks like. So yep, enjoy as you watch it progress. Okay, so I have just finished mixing up my resin. I'm pouring it into the coaster molds, making sure that I've got enough for each one. I want to get that bottom part covered. I don't, because I'm planning on doing more than one pour in this, so I want to make sure I get equal amounts. And like I have said earlier, this resin is curing very fast here. Where I live, it's really hot and humid right now, and so it cures fast. So right now I'm going around. Bubbles are notorious for gathering around the edges of molds in that sharp angle right there. Rounded areas, not so much, but those sharp angles right on the sides, bubble central. So I went around with my silicone tool and got that taken care of. Okay, I'm going to be dropping my alcohol inks now. Yellow right in the middle, and lemon. And now I'm going with terracotta. Up on the top. And then I get my ruby down on the bottom. Or I did that backwards, sorry. Ruby on the top, terracotta on the bottom. And I decide, go ahead and put my Vegas dust Vegas dust in the center part of the mold right now, and take care of that. So I know it's heavy gold. Micas usually sink, and I mixed up a little bit, so I knew it wasn't going to be spreading around like glitter, but I wanted that get that in place before I started doing any piping. So I've got the basic shape of the pansy here, and I've already mixed up my bloom paste, and I want to make sure that I follow the same I'm trying to do the same thing with both of them. So I'm going around the basic shape of the pansy, then I'm going to give one more time around, then do the other, so that I can basically do, so I can have twin coasters here. And now that I've done that, I'm going to go and put some on the inside, some little embellishments. And I mixed up more bloom paste, and the one that I did earlier, the first one for pansies for the collaboration event, I didn't read the instructions correctly. I only put 1 drop in for that ounce, and it should have been 3 drops. So I put in the full 3 drops for this one. So it's this blooming should definitely, you should definitely be able to see the white. Okay, so I'm going to go take, I still got a little bit of that white left, and I want to get more blooming action going. So I'm taking another route around. Now those little dots, I'm putting those in. I don't know if you've ever seen the firework effect that some people have done with the blooms. They're really kind of cool. I didn't know how much they would be able to work, because I've already got a bunch of other stuff in there, but wanted to add that element in there. Now I'm just cleaning up the edges and giving the pansy a little bit more shape. Dragging in from the outside. And then on that bottom one, I want to split it up like you see on the real pansy. Now, this dark brown, this is mica that I had mixed up. And I was hoping this would help the eyes and the mouth area of the pansy show up. And so I should have just gotten another bag and piped it in. This was not working real well, and it was warming up, and so it was sticking on that stick and not being real friendly to me. So I was doing the best I could with the timing, because that resin was going fast. Not being cooperative. I don't like being rushed that way. See how I dragged right across there? Not good. So it's I say not good. It's going to end up fine, but in my mind, it's not good, because I know what I can do, and I know it can be better. So now I'm trying to give those eyes and that mouth area a little bit more shape. So I'm dragging through with the silicone tool, and yeah, this is already blooming. I mean, big time. That white is just getting after it. Julie Cutts really knew what she was doing when she put this bloom paste together. Now I thought, okay, well, let me try and use the pipette. I'm having to squeeze extra hard. That resin was already seizing, and so I was trying to suck it up into that pipette. No, not doing it. Frustrated. I don't like being rushed that way. I want my art to be able to be exactly what I want it to be, and I had something in my mind and I was not getting it fulfilled. Sorry about the focus on the wrist. It was focusing on my wrist and not the work. Sorry about that. So still trying to give it some shape. And already in my mind, I was thinking, I'm going to have to redo some of this. I wasn't going to scoop it out. So I was just going to let this cure up and then take care of it on the next pour. Okay, trying to move it around a little bit with the heat gun. Maybe give that the eyes and the mouth a little shape. It worked, sort of. Or it's working. And there, I just sort of blew it. Yeah, I blew it. So you see it moving, which is good, but I'm not getting the shape that I want. You see, so I'm trying to push that brown out, and then when I push it out, it lost its darker edge, and so those colors of alcohol ink were taken over, and I thought, oh man, okay, so I'll just let it take its. You want to be that way, resin? Go for it. I'll let you cure up and take care of you on the next pour. So, yeah. So now it's cleanup devices, cleanup tools, making sure that any extra resin is not going to be in a place where I'm going to bump it with my elbow, stick my finger in it by accident. So I'm moving things around. I took the sound out from the regular video, and I'm doing this overdub or voiceover, because if you heard it, you'd hear the doors slamming. I don't know what was going on in the other room. My wife going in and out of the rooms and closing doors, and the dog chasing after her, and so you hear his toenails clickety clickety clicky all over the floor, and then me bumping into things as I was moving around. You don't need to be hearing that. So yeah, so all you're doing is by watching this is hopefully you'll be able to see this bloom. I sped this up quite a bit. So yeah, I left the camera running quite some time. But if you pay attention, those things are blooming. And that white is pulling in. And notice on the side where I put those dots and I said the firework effect, look at those. those are pulling in really cool. The central yellow area is accenting the gold, that Vegas dust, but I don't like it. After a little bit, I'm gonna come in with the silicone tool and give a little swirl around to try and collect that yellow all in one area instead of letting it bunch up into the ruby and down into the terracotta. I say up into, that's the, yeah, I'm saying, yeah, it looks pretty good, but not quite good enough. So, yeah, got to get those alcohol inks out of the way. Everything's getting cleaned up. I had a mold sitting over, you can't see it on the screen, it's further up on the screen, and that's where I was squirting the leftover white. I'm not going to just throw it out in the piping bag. So as I'm moving around, I started noticing that yellow moving to places I did not want it to move. So there we go. Yep. I knew it was coming. So that brought a little bit of that terracotta up, which I think gives it a little cuteness, and yeah, it brought that yellow back together so that it's gonna accent that Vegas dust underneath. Okay, now there were, because of me moving things around, little bubbles popping or coming up, and so I needed to get rid of those as best I could with that long-handled lighter. Looks pretty funny going that fast. And every once in a while, you see, this is really starting to cure up pretty fast, and so I'd see those bubbles come up. You see how fast that's already curing up? It's 105 degrees. When I poured it, it was like 92. So it's already, and it's starting to seize. So when the bubbles come up when it's starting to seize, not real good. So I was trying to get those things popped as fast as I could, and I realized, no, I'll just take care of it on the second layer, second pour. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. That's not move it anymore. Now we just got to wait for it to finish curing. For my second pour, I'm going to be using some ultraviolet resin, and I'm using the Let's Resin hard resin, and I'm putting some of that brown mica into, mixing into that UV resin, and I'm going to go over the areas where the eyes and the mouth were not forming like I wanted them to. So I'll mix that up, and then I'll go over as best I could the areas and cleaning them up. I don't mix that fast. Now I got this in speed up motion. Okay, so now I'm just gonna dab it out there, and every time I would come across, I would wipe off a little bit of excess, and I wasn't getting enough of that resin down that I wanted. Like right there, you see how hardly any came out? I should have just not wiped it and just took a big dollop down there. But anyway, I'm shaping the eyes, or what I call the eyes. Okay, now I'm going down to the bigote area. Bigote is mustache in Spanish, or mouth. Like I said, it looks sort of like a mustache on a really bushy mustache, and so I'm doing it. I have a friend. I don't know if I should mention his name. He looks like Pancho Villa. His mustache does. Pictures you've seen of Pancho Villa, real bushy mustache. Jesse Fuentes, this is my call out to you. Anyway, this is I'm thinking of Jesse when I'm doing this mustache area. I'm doing this with the brown, and I'm like, I've got to come up with something else. I'm not in a hurry right here. I haven't mixed up my other resin, my epoxy resin, and the UV resin's not gonna. It'll sit there all day until you get UV light on it or sunlight on it. So I got the basic shape that I wanted. Now I got to use my Let's Resin flashlight. The one that came with the UV kit to begin with that I got from Let's Resin was this little tiny one, and those batteries burned out so fast. So I bought this bigger flashlight. It's got a lot more power, and you can recharge it by plugging it into a USB, which makes life so much easier instead of going through batteries. But I'm setting this UV resin with that. Hopefully you're not being blinded by the light. Yeah, by the flashlight, that UV flashlight. Now I'm thinking I need something more. So I bring out my trusty Counterculture DIY black resin. And I bought some of this and I thought, man, this is really nice stuff. It's really good, but it does have a little bit of an odor when you cure it. I mean, you can't stand with your head right over the top while you're curing, because unless you're wearing some type of a respirator or some type of a mask, because it's not an unpleasant smell, but it's a smell that I'm thinking probably not a healthy one. So I'm aiming that flashlight from afar, and as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh no, I was going to leave the outside clear on this coaster instead of putting green, like I did on the previous video on the pansies that I did for the challenge, or the collaboration, not the challenge. Now what I'm doing here is I'm bringing more color in by dropping those alcohol inks onto cured resin, very similar to what Mixed Media Girl does on a lot of her trays. She gets her resin mixed up, and then she puts alcohol ink down on the mold before any resin is in there, and then pours the resin right in the middle, and it spreads that alcohol ink out. And that's what I was wanting to do with this, to get a fuller range. Now watch how that spreads out. And it spreads out really good on this one. This one not so much, but it eventually does, which is kind of crazy the way resin works. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm thinking, I still got a little bit of resin left in here. Better pour some more. but I was seeing that black, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm gonna have to put another layer on. So I got to leave myself a little bit of room in these molds. They were getting awfully close to the top. Right now, I have used 10 ounces of resin with both pours, not 5 in each one. So, but I still have a little bit left. So then I get after it, partly to pop some bubbles, but thinking maybe I can move the alcohol ink a little bit more, because I wanted it to spread out, because when it cures it'll come back in. And as I went over this one, you see how it's moving in when I go over it with that heat gun, and so then I change the angle and it starts spreading out, and then I do it even more off camera, and you'll see the difference when I come back in for the third pour. But anyway, that's the second pour. Now we'll just let the resin do its magic. Cure it up and they'll be done. What did I tell you about how that alcohol ink would spread out? It did, and by me pushing it with the heat gun. Now I'm adding some glitter from Arteza. It is a holographic green glitter. And then I'm also using some black paste. So what I'm going to do here with the green is I'm going to go around the outside. And you see that black area in the middle where every time I move my hand over, the focus keeps changing. Sorry about that. But that black area where I use that black UV resin, I'm going to fix it with that black paste in the resin. So now I got to mix it up. And this is a black. Doesn't take much. And it's really kind of cool. Watch when I start mixing this up. Whoa. And I just start stirring, and that clear resin just blackened up real quick. So it's focusing on my fingers. Sorry about that. So now wipe off the sticks, and here I come with the green. Watch this. Dun, 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 dun. Now you can still see through. See, and I was like, no, I can't have that. That's why I'm gonna have to have that black in the middle. Now this is 3.8 ounces of resin being split up between the two molds. So there's that black. Now my problem of that black UV resin being seen from the back is gone. And it'll actually add more color to the finished product. Can't put any more in there, so I'm just going to let them cure up. All cured up. Pretty. Pansies, part 2. Well, I appreciate you for watching. Thank you for all my subscribers. I'm awfully close to 900. And if you haven't had a chance, you need to go look at the collaboration that I was in. There's a playlist on my first Pansy video. And thank you to those who have bought me a coffee. If you want to help me out my resin business, I'd appreciate a little help with coffee. But thank you for your support this far. This is Bass Resonator singing out.